Welcome to number 80. This will mark the last video before the final 10 videos in this Haizhen Log series. This video today, I'm going to actually talk about how there's been some twists and turns in terms of all of this development. And maybe it's a good time for me to kind of reflect on the whole journey overall, just at a very high level. So that's what I'm going to share with you, just this process of putting this work together that I've been working on in Haizhen, kind of from the very beginning to where I thought it was going to go, and then where it seems to be going now. And then after that, I have no idea. So if I take you back to where all of this kind of idea began, it would have been in about 2019 when I became certified as a hypnotist. When I first took that training, I didn't understand what hypnosis was. I had no idea. But when I went into there and understood the potential to use this for change, my mind was blown. I just wanted to work with people and help people change their lives. I was working in healthcare at the time in a pharmacy, and being a hypnotist and a pharmacist kind of almost is two separate things. People don't come into the pharmacy expecting a hypnotist behind the counter. So I did try to be like, oh, hey, like I have this certification and like I'm a hypnotist. And oftentimes, because it's not the frame that people understand, it just kind of like glossed over their head. So I ended up using those skills more online. I was connecting with people online and doing work in that way. There was one instance of a patient of mine at the time who had some things that were going on that they couldn't necessarily manage or deal with. And I ended up scheduling a session with them outside of the pharmacy time. And that whole experience just really locked in for me the power that this modality, understanding what hypnosis is, could actually bring about. It could bring about just instantaneous a shift, right? And that's basically what can happen. So I had this understanding now that change is possible and change is not hard. It's actually just a constant. What is often most difficult to change is just the mindset and attitude towards change. So then I started wanting to work on a business to go and do sessions. There are so many people in the hypnosis space that are wanting to work as a hypnotist, as a hypnotherapist, as a coach to make changes with people. So I worked on that for years. 2020 went through. I was learning about marketing, learning about new techniques with hypnosis and thinking about it every day. So from 2020 to maybe 2022 almost, or 2021, it was like spending every waking moment thinking about hypnosis. As I did that, I came across some metaphysical texts and I began to explore that as well and started to think about metaphysics and the nature of reality, and then tying those things together so that I could meld those experiences to understand how hypnosis layers over the nature of reality. Like, how do these things connect? And that was just really for interest for me, but it really helped me understand whole new perspectives. And one of the most valuable perspectives that I got from that learning was that our world is a mirror. Like, our experience is a mirror of our internal states. I've said this before, and it's that idea of as above, so below, as within, so without. Everything that you see and perceive is your inside like perception reflected back to you. And that kind of feeds into the work that I do, because what I realized from that, if you extend that out, basically what's happening when you're interacting with other people is they are interacting at the level and with the understanding that they would interact with themselves. In some ways, people are always telling on themselves. They're going to engage with you with the level of understanding that they have in their head. And what does that mean for client work, to work through different problems? It's not to point out and say, hey, like, you're the problem. I mean, like, you are the problem because you are your problem and you are your solution. But it's not to say it in a way that is like, now feel bad about it. It's just an observation. So understanding that, the way that I approach the work went from this idea of like, I needed to do something and shifted into this way of holding space. One of the other trainings that I found really, really helpful and enlightening was I did some not grief coaching, end of life coaching. How a coach would engage with somebody at the end of life and help them move through that gracefully. And one of the things that I really took away from that training was the ability to hold space, to just sit in presence with someone else. If I think back to my hypnosis training as well, there was elements of this where I remember one exercise that a lot of people it was like one of those nervous kind of exercises where you work with somebody, you induce a trance, and then you have to just sit with them there and maintain kind of that trance. The difficult thing there was just kind of keeping that regular rhythm going and also knowing when to pause. The interesting thing in hypnosis is that time moves differently. So you don't actually have to be speaking all the time for somebody to maintain their attention with you. It's really more of this thing called a psychodynamic loop. It's like there's a relational type of thing that's happening. So when I learned about holding space, this then again shifted the way that I approach my work to really hold space for reflection. Then the final piece that added on here was the human design piece. And human design kind of like blew the doors wide open in terms of just giving direction. Because for me, as a projector, this is a type that's about 20% of the population. And it's not that the type is more special than or like better than any of the other types. It's just there's less of us around, which basically means that the world is not designed to operate in a projector fashion, just like it's not designed to operate in a manifestor fashion or a reflector fashion. It's really a generator world where it's like to build, to do and do and do. And we definitely need things like that, but that was not my energy. And what I found so powerful was how it gave me, number one, a strategy and authority, a way of making decisions and then making choices that were aligned to me, that helped me move through things, move energy, move the energetics through, so that I felt whole, that I felt like I wasn't burning out. So putting all of these things together, I saw that there was power in terms of human design for giving direction. This is like the strategy, the way that you move aligned with your core frequency. Then there's hypnosis that can address any conditioning that you're holding on to. These are either learned or passed down through society, through culture, through family relations, and things that we hold on to energetically that basically are like operating outside of who we are really meant to be. And that's where the combination of this program came together, the Haizhen Transformation, which I had been talking about earlier on in this whole series. And that idea still lives. But right now, the immediate focus and the way of bringing that out kind of has shifted. My initial approach there was I was working with my coach. We were putting together a online course. It was going to be like a group session type of thing. Basically, it was to move people through understanding their design, to work through the deconditioning process, and then to understand how to present themselves and to show up as themselves. And this was the kind of like 16-week program that I was working on at that time. That still exists and that work still continues. But I found that the challenge there was really the marketing and the talking about it and getting out and understanding what people wanted or needed and maybe what I could best contribute to other people. So as I'm working through all of this, something was off. Like it just didn't feel right for me to put this program together and then just go and shout it out and say, hey, look at all these things that I can do, because who am I? Like, you don't know who I am. You don't know what I can do. How are you to trust me other than just blind faith, right? I think that part of the way of showing up in spaces like this on YouTube and on TikTok and whatever is to show up authentically so that if it is the right vibe for you, then you can reach out and connect with me. So then I paused putting in the work on that program because one of the things that I could do endlessly is to adjust and tweak and update the process, the protocol, and to kind of like lock it in to one thing, and then maybe a week later to think like, oh, I got this new idea, I'm going to lock it into something else. And I moved from working on that, which was also action, to working on just doing the talking, doing the connection with people. And that turned into just me eventually, number one, just leaning into my design, which was to lean on that channel of 4323, the channel of structuring, to take the insights that I had downloaded, that I had made the connections for myself, and just to speak them out plainly. One of the things that I had been doing more previously is just over explaining, to say something like, you are the problem, and then have to explain it for like 10 minutes before just letting it land, right? But if I were to say it now, I would say, you're the problem. That's where everything starts and ends. And I could leave it there. If it's something that resonates with you, you will then be curious. I could go through, and if you did not understand and you can't relate to that idea, no matter how long I talk about it, you probably still won't be convinced. So then I went onto TikTok and I just started talking about various things. Some of my favorite things to talk about were spirituality, metaphysics in general. These topics seem to be very popular, or maybe it's because I spent so much time thinking about these things and coming up with my own perspective of it to kind of integrate so that I could explain it in a way that just connects and succinctly. So in the process of doing that, getting out into that space, talking about spirituality and sometimes hypnosis, and also just different insights and changes. For example, one of the recent videos I made was just plainly coming out and saying, this is going to be a deep question. When was the first time that you learned to put yourself last? Right? Asking questions like that. So I'll say that the people that I wanted to help most are people that help other people. Because I believe if I can help a person that's helping more people, then more people are just going to be helped. That's the simple math of it. This is the approach of like what guided my career in healthcare, which is to say, I was working in one place and I was working with my patient population. And now I'm working in a place where I can teach others to work with their own populations of patients, and that work just expands. So the people that I wanted to help always were people that helping other people. I'd call them leaders or creatives, because I think that those are two roles that are really in that space to help other people. And this is turning into a helpers guild now. Like, it's this idea of bringing people together who are really passionate about helping people but just can't get out there. And as recently as today, there are people actually reaching out and saying like, I'm interested, and just sharing their stories about how they struggle, that they haven't been able to do it. So I want to work through that because I think that there's so much power in it. Now, I've been working on this business for like 5 years, 6 years. So the money's not important to me. I don't need that, because I was doing it anyways. I was going out and having sessions and all of this stuff. And really the thing that lights me up is when I see somebody make a realization and then they can make that shift and make it real in their own lives. It's just so rewarding. And I believe that that time will come. If I can help other people in a way where they can then receive, then that is what gets everything flowing. And once we start that flow, then we can keep it going. So this is log number 80. And going into the last 10, I predict that I'm probably just going to continue getting on here and just keep talking about the things that are interesting to me. This really serves as a record or a log of the process of the ups, the downs, and then just my insights along the way of what this process was like. One day, I'll likely go back and watch back these videos. The one test for me was that I could actually go back and watch the videos that I had recorded earlier, because I thought that if I couldn't watch it, who could? So this serves as a record of all of this process, everything that has been going on. And I think it's going to be fun that way. I'd love to continue to grow this channel. And one of the funny things is I've just been doing this and not really promoting it, not telling anybody about it. And I think that that's about to change. So I'm going to sign off, and we'll see you again in the next couple videos. And when it's time to stop doing daily videos, I will make it known. And we'll see where it goes from there. But for now, I'm having fun with this. I love like my setup. Like I'm so happy with it because I can just put it together. I got my key light over here, I got my backlight there, and then just some like atmospheric lights, and I got this nice chair that I'm sitting on. It's a director's chair that I got from my buddy Ernie. So this is it. It's still the same day as yesterday when I went to see or not yesterday, but the last video when I saw the Demon Slayer movie. So that's what this shirt is. If you haven't seen the movie, go and see it. It's not a sponsor or anything, but go see the movie. Watch the anime. It was a lot of fun. Take some time, do something for yourself. If you haven't done something for yourself and you can't remember when the last time you did that is, that's the work that you need to do right now.